Okay, so this lesson is on equations of circles. We're going to learn how to find an equation for the circle and also how to identify the center and radius, as well as write equations for circles. Okay, so these two formulas probably look fairly familiar to you. You've seen them before. The first one is the distance formula. And the distance formula is used to find the distance between 2 points in the coordinate plane. So any 2 points, maybe you got a point here and you want a point here and you want to know how far they are in between them. That's the distance formula. Okay, and the other one is the midpoint formula. And this is to find the middle of 2 points. So let's say you got 2 points with a segment. You want to find right in the middle where that is. That's the midpoint formula. So hopefully these are familiar to you. We're going to reference these today and use them in a couple of different situations. All right. So how can we find the equation of a circle? Well, if we look at a circle, here's a circle. The center of this is HK, and you know that all the points on this circle here are the same distance from the center, and that distance is called the radius right there. So this is just a distance, right, from a certain point, in this case, the center. So the equation of a circle is really just the distance formula. We want to know, hey, what is the distance from the center to the outside of the circle? And that's always the same in a circle, right? So if we look at this distance formula and we just replace a few things. So instead of distance, we say that distance is r. Let's put r here. Okay. And then I say, well, one of the points is HK. And the other point, let's call just like XY. Train's going by, so maybe you hear that. Sorry. And then, so we want to know what the distance is. Well, let's say I just say, all right, well, that's X2, let's just say is X, minus my center is H, and the X value is H there, so X minus H squared, plus, and then we do the same thing with the Y's. We say, all right, well, Y minus the Y value of the center, which is K squared. Okay, now, if I take this formula, this is going to give me the radius, and that is going to give me the formula for a circle. But I want to get rid of that square root. So I'm going to take and I'm going to square this side, and I'm going to square this side. Okay, if I do that, my equation would be r squared equals x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. This right there is our formula for a circle. So pretty simple. It's just a distance formula, slightly modified. All right. So equation of a circle. There it is. You can see it. We just talked about it. Okay. You know this is R. Okay. And this center, HK, very similar, right? We've seen H and K quite a bit this year, so you know what that's about. So let's identify this. So this is the equation of the circle where HK is the center and R is the radius. Okay. Now, Something to point out is the minus signs here, right? So again, just like when we were doing transformations of functions and we saw minus h and plus k, this one has the minus in front of both of them. So when you're looking at this where the center is going to be, you're going to do the opposite for both. So if we take a look at this first equation here, where's the center located? That center is going to be located at 5, 1. So in other words, opposite of both of those is maybe the quickest way to look at it. Okay, and then what the radius is, remember this is r squared. So really you're going to need to take the square root of 64, which is 8. So don't forget about that part, that it's the radius squared. So that's how you do that. Pretty simple. Okay, so then this one right here, what would be the center? Well, it would be, I guess I should go back to my pen. There we go, -7, comma, +2. Now this time, instead of asking for the radius, they ask for the diameter. Well, this is r squared. If you take the square root of 324, you're going to get 18. So r equals 18. Well, now if I want the diameter, right, that's double the radius, or 2r. So 18 times 2 is 36. So my diameter is 36. And these are kind of the basics of equations of circles. All right. So one of the things they'll ask you is to be able to graph a circle on a coordinate plane given its equation, and also identify its center and radius. Okay, so I find that it's easiest to start by identifying the center and radius. So in this case, my center would be -4, +2. I guess I should do it this way. So all right, there we go. -4, +2. And then my radius, let's go back up here. It's 25, so take the square root of that, that's 5. Okay. All right. Now, it's -4, 2. Okay. -4, 2. Okay. And then my radius is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. I need it to go right there. And then you might want to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to the left, and down 1, 2, 4, 5. Okay, so it should go there. I think on my iPad this will draw me a nice circle, if I can kind of make it look like a circle. Yeah. There we go. And there we go. We've just done it. Perfect. Okay. So that's all you're doing on these. Let's try this one. Okay. Now this one, you'll notice there's nothing there. So that means it's y minus 0. So that really means your y value is 0. So this would be 7, 0. My radius is the square root of 4, also known as 2. Okay, so 7, 0. The radius of 2. Just put those down there, and then draw your circle. Oh, that worked out pretty nicely. Okay. And then the last one here, let's see. Okay, my center is at 3, -1. And my radius would be 7. Okay, 3, -1. Count 7 that way. All right, let's see how this goes. Oh, that train sound is pretty awful. Okay. All right, that's pretty good. All right, there's my circle. All right, hopefully that makes sense to you, and that's how that works. Okay, you should also be able to write an equation. So this is just kind of working backwards from where you were. So I'm just going to take this, let's say this right here, and plug it in to my various pieces here. And then the radius, I'm going to need to put in here, and it's going to need to be squared. So that's what I like to do, is just plug it in, and then I simplify anything I need to. So this would be x plus 1 squared plus y minus k, minus 7 squared equals 14 squared. So I'm going to write 14 squared. And then that is 196. So then I just write the rest of this. For some reason, writing -7 is hard for me today. All right, there we go. And that's it. That's your equation right there. And then sometimes, right, they're going to give you, be careful, like this one, they give you the diameter, not the radius. So if that happens, just, be careful with that. So if this is my diameter, then I know that the radius is half of that, so it's 16. So then just go from there. So just be aware of some of those things. On your assignment, I think I highlighted different colors, so you're a little bit more aware of that, but all right, so here we go. X minus 0 squared. So I'm not going to write the -0. We're going to simplify that to just x squared. So, right, if you get to this, we want to simplify that to this. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And then this one I got y minus 9 squared, and then equals, now I want 16 squared, so this time I'm just going to write that answer. That's 256. There, we just wrote an equation for a circle. Not too bad, right? And then you should also be able to do this from a graph, and then there's a couple other ways that we're going to talk about as well, but let's look at the equation for this. So really, we need the center and we need the radius, and we can figure that out pretty easily from the graph. So let's take a look at this right here. Okay, so my center is right there, okay, and that appears to be the point, let's write it out here. That appears to be the point 3, -2. My radius is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So now I can write my equation. So again, just using this formula up there. So I'm going to say x minus 3 squared plus y plus 2 squared, again opposite, equals 5 squared, and that's 25. Done. Okay, let's try this one. The center appears to be right here. Okay, that's -1, 3. Okay, and then what is my radius? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, looks like 7. Okay, so let's write our equation. X plus 1 squared, y minus 3 squared equals 7 squared, which is 49. Done. All right, not too bad at all. Okay, so then they can throw a little bit of a curveball at you, but you have enough information to be able to solve things like this. So don't let that throw you. You've got it. Okay. So one of the things they'll do is say, all right, well, if I give you the center and a point on the circle, can you write the equation? Well, this means I don't know the radius. So, but if I know the center, right, and I know one of the points, I can find the distance between those 2 points. And if it's on the circle, that will represent my radius. So I kind of do know it. I just need to figure it out. So that's what we're going to do. All right. So let's use the distance formula, which I have hidden right here. Sneaky, huh? Okay. There's the distance formula. So I'm just going to use that and find the distance between this point and this point, right? And that'll tell me what my radius is. Okay. So, I'll just call this R is equal to the square root of, we'll say, -7 minus 1 squared plus -13 minus -5, don't forget that negative, squared. Okay. Okay, so this is -8. Make sure that's in parentheses. Otherwise, you're going to get a negative number when you square it. And then this is also going to be -8 squared. So that would be 64 plus 64, which would be 128. Okay. Now, here's the thing. You could go ahead and take the square root of 128, which, let me use my other calculator here. That's 11.31, but I don't need to do that. The reason is I'm going to end up squaring this in my formula anyways. Remember, in your formula, you do r squared. So when I square that, the square root's going to just go away. So I'm just going to leave it like that. So this will end up being, all right, here we go. Here's our formula. X minus, my center is 1, -5, so x minus 1 squared plus y plus 5 squared equals r squared. Well, that's, like I was just saying, that's really this squared. So that's 128. So I'm just going to write that. Done. So that one required a little bit more work, but not too bad. Okay, I have one more for you. And this one, they give you 2 endpoints. Okay, so if I have 2 endpoints, then all the way across is my diameter, right? Now, in the middle of that is my center. I need to find the center. So I want to find that first. I want to know what my H and my K are. Otherwise, I cannot do this. So we know that the middle is, I can use the midpoint to find the middle if I have the two endpoints. So I'm going to use the midpoint formula first. And again, I have that hidden right here, and we're going to just do that. So I'm just going to add these up. So the center is going to be 6 plus negative 2 divided by 2, comma, negative 13 plus 15 divided by 2. So 6 plus negative 2 is 4. And negative 13 plus 15 is 2. So the center is 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to change that to a C there. Okay. So that's the center of my circle. All right, wonderful. So now I know that. That's a key part. Now, once I know my center, okay, and there's a couple different ways that we could do this, but I like to take the center and pick one of the points, and that's going to give me my radius. I did not draw that very well, but so that distance from the center to one of the endpoints will give me my radius. So I'm just going to pick an endpoint. Let's do this one. Okay, I'm going to use negative 215 and my center. So I'm using this and this, and I'm going to find my radius using the center and one of the endpoints, and that will give me the distance, which will be the radius, and that's really what I want. Okay, so here we go. The radius is equal to okay, we'll say, I don't know, negative 2 minus positive 2, so squared, plus, and then 1, nope, I started with negative 2, so I want to start with 15. 15 minus 1 squared. Okay, so this will be negative 4 squared plus 14 squared. Okay, so I get, this will be 16 plus 196. So my radius would be the square root of 212. And once again, I'm not going to take the square root of that because I'm about to square it anyways. So let's write our equation. I'm going to write it in a different color. Our center is 2, 1. So x minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 212. There we go. That's my equation. So a little bit trickier, but you've got the tools to be able to do it. And that's pretty much everything that we're going to talk about with equations of circles. All right, you can go ahead and tackle this assignment. Hope everything goes well. Good.